Imagine a scared parent walking into a police station. They say their 14-year-old daughter got paid cash by a rich guy, Jeffery Epstein, for a massage. That turned into something awful. Today, we're talking about Jeffery Epstein, born in 1953 in Brooklyn, New York. The guy who went from being a math teacher to being a super rich money guy. But his life was full of very dark secrets. We're doing a fun experiment, taking 5 of his worst crimes and pretending he got the toughest prison sentences from historical eras and adding them all up at the end. How long would he have been locked up? Here's a quick look at Epstein. He hung out with some presidents and billionaires, like Donald Trump and Bill Clinton, owned a private island, and lived large until his crimes got him caught in 2019. Epstein had a crazy life, tons of money and power, but he was also a bad guy who hurt young girls, some only 14 years old. His crimes got big attention in the 2000s. And he was arrested in 2019 for sex trafficking. He died in jail before his trial, which was weird how it happened. What do you think really happened? But we won't talk about that today. The proof against him was super strong. We're looking at 5 of his biggest crimes. Sex trafficking of minors, using a fake modeling agency to trick girls, paying for young girls to do illegal stuff, breaking his 2008 deal, and using hidden cameras to blackmail people. In real life, he got off easy, 13 months with days where he could walk out of jail. But what if old, strict laws punished him instead? Let's check out the first crime. Number 5. Sex trafficking of minors. In 2019, Epstein got caught for paying dozens of girls, some as young as 14, to do sexual stuff between 2002 and 2005. It happened at his big houses in New York and Palm Beach, and he even made the girls bring more victims. The government said he hurt tons of girls, way too many to count easily. Today, that could mean 40 years in prison for each case, but he never served it. He died first. Let's go back to 1925 in America, when a law called the Mann Act was super strict. It said you couldn't take girls across state lines for bad reasons. Courts back then didn't play around. A guy named John McTague got 20 years for moving one girl in 1925. No early release, just jail. Epstein had 36 victims in his 2008 Florida case. If a 1920s judge gave him 20 years for each girl and added them all up, that's 720 years. Back then, a rich guy hurting kids would have been a huge deal. He'd be locked up until 2745. Number 4. Fake modeling agency. Epstein worked with a guy named Jean-Luc Brunel at MC2 to trick girls. He promised them modeling jobs, but instead, he hurt them. Some were young girls from places like Brazil and Eastern Europe, lied to about becoming stars. It was a sneaky, awful plan. Today, that might mean 20 years for trafficking or fraud, but he never got punished for it. Let's go back to 1875 in England, when people were freaking out about kids being used badly. A law from 1861 said taking a girl under 16 for wrong reasons could get you life in prison. Judges gave out life sentences a lot back then, especially after a guy named William Stead told everyone how bad it was. If Epstein tricked 10 girls and faced an 1875 court, that's 10 life sentences. Even if they didn't add up, life meant no getting out, just hard work in a nasty jail until he died. Maybe in 20 or 30 years, he'd be stuck forever. Ever wonder how many years your favorite celebrity would do behind bars in a certain year? Or even just the amount of years you would face for a certain charge in a certain year? I've provided that with the link in the description for you curious history law enthusiasts. Number 3. Paying young girls for illegal stuff. In 2008, Epstein said he was guilty in Florida for hurting a 14-year-old and others. He got 18 months, but only served 13. And he could leave during the day. Ridiculous, right? Let's go to 1900 in America, when people were cracking down on bad behavior. A New York law said paying a girl under 18 for that stuff could get you 25 years in prison for each case. In 1904, a guy named Charles Wilson got 25 years for 2 girls. No breaks, just jail. Epstein had 36 victims in his 2005 to 2006 Florida case. If a 1904 judge gave him 25 years for each girl and added them all up, That's 900 years. Judges back then hated rich guys who hurt poor kids and wanted to make examples of them. No easy time, just years and years locked away. 900 years is insane. Number 2, breaking his 2008 deal. After his light sentence in 2008, Epstein was supposed to follow rules, like no more hurting girls. But evidence shows he kept doing bad stuff anyway, even while on work release and after. Today, breaking a deal like that might mean extra charges, maybe 10 years, but he wasn't caught in time. Let's go back to 1880 in America, when breaking probation or court promises was a big deal. Back then, courts could charge you with contempt of court, or worse, like perjury if you lied about stopping. In 1880, a guy named Henry Dawson got 15 years for ignoring a court order and doing crimes again. If Epstein broke his deal and a tough 1880 judge saw him as a liar who kept hurting people, he could have gotten 15 years per violation. Let's say 5 big breaches: moving girls, paying them, ignoring rules. That's 75 years. Old judges didn't mess around with rich guys who thought they were above the law. Number 1, blackmailing people with hidden cameras. Epstein had secret cameras in his houses and island, recording big celebrities doing bad things with girls. He used those tapes to scare them into staying quiet or doing what he wanted. Today, that's blackmail. Maybe 15 years if caught, but he never faced it. Let's go back to 1930 in America, during the Great Depression, when gangsters used blackmail all the time. Laws like the Lindbergh Law cracked down hard on stuff like kidnapping and threats. Blackmail could get you 20 years if it was serious. In 1930, a crook named Al Capone got nailed for smaller crimes, but blackmailers got big sentences too. If Epstein recorded, say, 10 powerful people, and a 1930 judge gave him 20 years for each case, added up, that's 200 years. Back then, using secrets to control people was a huge crime, especially for a rich guy like him. Okay, let's add it all up. Sex trafficking in 1925, 720 years. Fake modeling agency in 1875, life. Let's say at least 30 years before he'd die in jail. Paying for young girls in 1904, 900 years. Breaking his deal in 1880, 75 years. Blackmail with cameras in 1930, 200 years. If all these were added together, that's 1,925 years plus a life sentence. Even if they didn't add up, that life sentence in 1875 means he's done after a few tough decades. Compare that to 45 years max in 2019, or the 13 months he actually got in 2008. Old laws would have kept him in jail forever, way longer than anyone could imagine. This is just a fun what if about how old laws might have punished Epstein. His real crimes were awful, and he barely got in trouble, which is insane to me, and still makes people mad. What do you think? Should he have gotten this much time? Tell me below. Like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for more videos like this.